Recently, I got a message from one of my clients, Stephanie, and she's deeply introspective, highly intelligent, and for 2 months we've been diving into non-duality together. She was questioning everything, her beliefs, her self-identity, the stories that had been holding her back, and making profound realizations. But now I got a message from her telling me she's going back to the Catholic Church. And then came the big question, is non-duality even compatible with faith? So, in this video, I'm going to answer this question. Stephanie is smart. She's not the type to follow blindly, and I can tell that she's really wrestling with this shift. On one hand, there is the pull of truth, this undeniable recognition of what's real beyond all stories. And on the other hand, there is the very human need for comfort, connection, and something to hold on when life feels overwhelming. And here's the thing, we've all been there, haven't we? Feeling like the world's a bit too much. And wouldn't it be nice if someone or something could just tell us what to do, give us the rules, and let us rest for a while? So faith, religion, and spirituality, they all offer a kind of emotional band-aid when life starts to feel like a cut that won't stop bleeding. But here is the catch. Band-aids aren't built for long-term use. Leave them on too long and you'll just end up with a bigger mess underneath. And this is where things get real. Because let me tell you, non-duality and faith-based systems like Catholicism aren't just different. They are playing completely different games. And if you are not ready to hear that, this might sting a little. And so who am I and how come I dare to speak about this? My name is Olivia Kissper. I'm an author on non-duality and a transpersonal guide with a master's degree in transpersonal psychology and consciousness studies. And I've spent the past 2 decades in intense spiritual search and self-development until I became disillusioned by it. So in this channel, Live Unbound, I offer grounded perspective on personal liberation available for anyone with an open mind and readiness. So let's dive right in. Faith thrives on belief. It's designed to give you answers, to make you feel safe, to tell you that if you're good, you'll go to heaven, and if you're bad, well, let's just say it's not exactly a happy ending. Faith is about creating meaning and structure in a chaotic world, and for a lot of people, that's exactly what they need. But here's the problem. Faith requires you to believe the story. It doesn't matter if the story is comforting or terrifying. What matters is that you buy into it. It tells you, here is who you are, here is why you are here, and here is what's waiting for you when you die. And you know what? It works. It works because it's simple, it's clear, it's emotionally satisfying. Now, non-duality doesn't work like that. Non-duality isn't here to comfort you. It's not here to give you answers or make you feel safe. In fact, it's here to destroy everything you thought you knew. It's not about believing a story. It's about seeing through all stories, including the one that says you are a person sitting here listening to this. And if you are already feeling uncomfortable, well, that's your ego kicking and screaming because it just realized it's not getting dessert. It's terrifying, and most people aren't ready for that. Most people don't want to sit with the raw, storyless reality of life. They want a narrative. They want to feel like they are in control. That's why faith feels so good. It gives you something to hold on when everything feels like it's just falling apart. But here is the radical truth. Faith is a stepping stone, not a destination. And Stephanie, for example, isn't doing anything wrong by going back to the Catholic Church. It's meeting her where she is right now It's helping her find stability and connection in a moment when she's really feeling overwhelmed, and that's okay. But if she's really seeking truth, there's going to come a point where faith starts to feel like a cage, because truth doesn't live in belief. Truth isn't waiting for you in heaven or hell or some final judgment. Truth is here, right now, in this very life, just beyond every story you've ever told yourself about who you are and why are you here. And here is the thing about truth. It doesn't care about your comfort. It's not here to rub your back and tell you everything is going to be okay. Truth is the tornado that shows up to blow your cozy little house of beliefs to pieces. Truth isn't trying to win you over. It doesn't need your approval. It doesn't care about your comfort. It just is. It's what's left when the stories crumble. So, why does it matter? Because most of us are clinging to something: faith, identity, achievements, you name it. And while it might help us to stay afloat for a while, it also keeps us from diving deeper. If faith is the stepping stone, then non-duality is the ocean you dive into when you're ready to leave the shore. And leaving the shore, that's the scary part. Because when you're floating out there in the ocean of truth, there's nothing to hold on to. No doctrines, no rules, no comforting ideas about who you are and where you're going. There's no community of floaters there, just you, and not even that. Instead, what comes up are the fears and insecurities we've spent a lifetime avoiding. What happens after death? Am I enough? What if I disappear? What is my purpose? Do I matter? These aren't just questions. They are landmines for the ego, and most of us would rather run back to shore than face them. But here is the thing. The fears hold the answers. If you have the courage and the right tools to look into them, they dissolve. They're like shadows that vanish when you shine a light. And what's left? The raw, undeniable truth of what you are, or more accurately, of who you are not. And so it's just obvious of what you are. So it's just you floating in this ocean, and it's not even you, because non-duality is all about realizing there never was a separate you to begin with. It's not just that you are a part of the ocean. You are the ocean, but the mind doesn't like that. It doesn't like the loss of control. It wants the shoreline, the safety of a map, a teacher, an authority, a conviction of entire group, or even just a rock to cling to. And let's be honest, who doesn't love a good rock to cling to? A belief, a role, a story. It feels safe. But here is the thing. Clinging to safety is like trying to cling to a wave. It's going to crush, whether you like it or not. And the harder you hold on, the more exhausted you're going to get. That's what Stephanie is doing right now, grabbing onto something seemingly solid. And again, that's okay for someone like her who's navigating a career of performing arts and grappling with big existential fears. It makes sense that she is drawn to the structure and community that Catholicism offers. Faith is giving her a framework to stand on while she's regaining her balance. But here is the thing about frameworks. They're only useful until they start to feel confining. At some point, if she keeps asking questions, faith will stop being the answer and start being the obstacle. Take the idea of free will, for example. In Catholicism, free will is sacred. It's the belief that we are all here to make choices, that those choices define our morality, our character, and ultimately our fate. It's comforting, right? It makes life feel like a manageable game with clear rules you can just follow. Just be a good person and you'll be fine forever. Non-duality flips that on its head. It asks, who is the one making the choice? Who is the I that believes it has control? When you inquire deeply, you start to see that free will isn't real. It's just another story, and choices still happen, but they arise naturally like waves in the ocean. And there is no separate self orchestrating it all. The self just likes to take credit for it. So it's gonna perpetuate the never-ending ping-pong game of superiority and unworthiness. And once you realize that, the whole control freak thing becomes pretty embarrassing. It's like yelling at the ocean for getting your shoes wet. The waves don't care. They're just doing what waves do. And doesn't that just ruin everything? No cosmic scoreboard, no pat on the back for doing the right thing, no one to blame when it all goes wrong, just life flowing as it always has. It's like being told you've been playing Monopoly wrong your whole time. There's no winner, the money was fake, and the real game was happening outside the board. That's not an idea most people want to hear. It's unsettling. It threatens the very foundation of identity, morality, and the sense of control we cling to so desperately. And yet, when you see it clearly, it's liberating. There is no burden of trying to control life anymore because you see that life is living itself and reality is kinder than the story you have about it. But don't believe me. I understand it sounds nuts. It is not something based on a belief. It's a realization when we take away all the assumptions and stories and beliefs. Heaven is unexpected and can be never found in the story about the future. It's hiding in plain sight without the stories we tell ourselves. If you'd like to question your own personal story and discover the unexpected liberation hiding where you'd expect it the least, I invite you to read my book, The End of Your Story, a non-dual guide to spiritual awakening without any self-help tools or meditation. You will find the link in the description of this video, or you can download the first chapter from my website, liveunbound.com. So where does that leave Stephanie? It leaves her right where she is, exactly where she's supposed to be. Her journey back to faith isn't a step backwards, it's a step inward. She's exploring the stories that bring her comfort, meaning, and connection. And if that's what she needs right now, I trust her process. But here is the thing about process. It's a fancy word we use to make existential chaos sound productive, like, oh, I'm in the middle of a process, instead of saying, I have no idea what I'm doing, and I cried at 3 a.m. last night. But I also know this. The truth doesn't go anywhere. It's patient. It waits. And when she's ready, when the pull of truth becomes stronger than the need for comfort, she'll step back into the ocean, not because she's supposed to, but because the deeper part of her already knows she's never left. The thing about non-duality is, it's not interested in being your spiritual therapist. It's not here to hold your hand while you cry about how unfair life is. It's here to show you that the you crying about life is just another thought, a very convincing one, sure, but still a thought. It's not here to make you feel better. It's here to make you free. So if you're open, join my channel where here I don't have the answers for you that feed your spiritual self-identity. I only have some questions that help to dissolve it. And maybe, just maybe, the heaven you're looking for is already here, right in the absence of the false identities claiming to be your real voice. Faith offers a lifeline, and non-duality cuts it. And that's not a bad thing, it's just a different game. For Stephanie, Catholicism is offering her a story to live by right now. It's a story about connection, redemption, and purpose. It's helping her navigate some big questions without being swallowed by them. But when she's ready, she may start to notice the cracks. She may start to question the storyteller behind the story. And that's when things will get interesting. What I find so fascinating about non-duality is that it doesn't negate faith. It transcends it. It's like realizing that the house you've been living in is made of glass. It was beautiful and protective, but now you can unsee the cracks, and you know there is a whole world beyond it. And that's the thing about truth. It doesn't care whether you are ready or not. It doesn't even need you to notice it. But once you do, there is no way going back. So if you ever feel torn between faith and non-duality, ask yourself these questions. What are you longing for most in community? And how do you see this community meeting those needs? And then what are the stories that you are holding on to because they feel safe? And if you weren't clinging to the shoreline of belief, what personal and existential insecurities may come up to the surface for you to deal with, to question? So thank you for watching. If this video resonated, feel free to share it in your group or with that one friend, the one who has a totally different belief system and the conversation always feels a little too sticky to bring up. And if you are ready to keep exploring this path to liberation, subscribe to my channel and let's continue this journey together. Here I offer a grounded perspective on personal liberation, available for anyone with open mind and readiness if clarity and freedom is more important than another comforting belief system.